Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. I woke up, wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, and it turns out there's a lot to talk about. Some really cool action in the world of art. Kristian did a drop with Red Bull Racing. We have a SuperRare auction that's above 30 ETH already. Some excitement with the Machi Big Brother ApeCoin proposal. Let's dive into all this, but first we'll do a quick market overview. Volumes up a small bit in ETH NFTs. Most of the market share, again, with Blur, 64%. That's the low end of the range for where they normally are, but clearly a dominant position. Large cap index, basically flat, down a small bit, had some strength in Pudgies, kind of pushed up to that 4.2 ETH range, and then some weakness in Moodbirds and Miladies. Mid cap index also pretty much flat. Wanted to talk about Friend.tech volume because I think Friend.tech is where there's a little bit more dynamic activity going on right now. So let's dive into what that looks like. Overall volumes were down a small bit from yesterday. We had the 8th straight day where Friend.tech keys did more ETH volume than NFTs. If you look at prices, though, prices were down a small bit. This looks at the top 250 Friend.tech keys. Just down 2 or 3%, nothing all that dramatic. And then some people said, well, that's because they rotated into smaller accounts. I don't think that's true either. If you look at the 250 to 750, so this is keys that were above 0.18 ETH yesterday, those were also down a small bit. I think broadly, people just know a few accounts that are rallying and think, oh, the market's rallying. But if you actually look at the whole body as a whole, prices have been flat to down a small bit. When you look at buy versus sell volume, I think this is one of the better metrics, but I'll show you in a second why there are some caveats there. But broadly, more buy volume than sell volume as well. One of the problems is that recently you're seeing a lot of people buy their own key. Here you have Vombatis, who bought a lot of his own keys, at 6 ETH each. So massive purchases, put something like 50 to 60 ETH into his own keys. The reason they're doing that is because as you buy more and more, the overall TVL, the overall value of everything you've bought till now gets higher and higher. And that is good for your overall airdrop. If people sell at these high prices, well, then you get some fees that offset some of the fees you have to pay. And this is just a way that a lot of people are airdrop farming. So I think that buy volume could also be partially a reflection of all of the self-buying that is happening in the marketplace. Another feature they added, you can see this plus 30.6%. They now have arrows and percentages, where we can really know if our friends are rising or falling. Just a little feature that they added yesterday. That's all for Friend.tech for now, though. Let's go back to NFTs. Nakamigos, a little bit weak. The airdrop the snapshot was taken for who is going to get the cloaks for free. So people who wanted to own it through that sold off a little bit, still kind of hanging in there at that 0.22 ETH range. And then Koda's basically flat. They've been down a lot over basically the past year, basically flat recently, but there was an announcement from Other Side Meta, from Yuga, saying that Legends of Mara Season 1 open beta goes live on the 26th. That's a week from yesterday. So we're going to get more from Other Side about their game. What you can see in this image is that it's a playing card-based game. It feels like there's something related to playing cards that is in there. And then C4.eth works at Yuga, put a long thread out there, which I'd recommend reading, but he said it's an idle experience that take place as the seasons turn. Codas tell stories in epics, not haikus. I think what he's saying here is we know that a lot of Bored Apes don't want to be involved in a game 24/7, that they kind of want a game that they can play slowly, be part of, without being totally immersed in it. And I think that that's kind of what we should expect from them for the next one. Broadly, I think that makes sense. I'm not too sure how many people want to play games in the first place. It's just kind of a small overlap of Bored Ape owners and gamers. I mean, both are pretty big. The Venn diagram on either side is pretty big, particularly gamers. I'm not sure how big the one in the middle is, but we will see over time. I want to look at trade returns. This basically looks at the overall returns, and I tweeted about this yesterday, the returns that people who bid on NFTs have had. And this kind of breaks down trade returns all the way back to when Blur Season 2 started. What you can see is this red area is the people who have bought NFTs via bid. So people dumped into them are down about 48,000 ETH since the beginning of Season 2. People on Blur who picked NFTs are also down in realized gains. I thought this was super interesting. People who bought via OpenSea bids are actually up. How are they possibly up? My sense is that bid-ask spread is pretty wide. You only put a bid into an OpenSea. People only hit the OpenSea bid. I guess when they're a little bit desperate, those bids are a little bit lower. So people put in when they can kind of make quick flips. The other thing is that this is realized returns. The unrealized gains or the unrealized losses of all these groups are quite high. But overall, when you put all these groups together, it's something like 90,000 ETH of realized losses since February. Again, unrealized losses, much, much bigger. So that's something that none of us like to see, but we're all fully aware of because we are in the NFT space. In terms of art projects, fair bit of volume yesterday. We had a ringer sale for 30 ETH, a Meridian for 12 ETH. This was kind of that monochrome newsprint color palette, makes it trade at a premium. This squiggle, bottom left, color spread of 14, beautiful squiggle, was bought for 23.65 ETH. That was bought by Cosimo de Medici. And then here we have one of Grant Yoon's pieces, which sold for 3 ETH. This is his grail that he did through Proof. It's the first time this has sold in many months. So congrats to the buyers and sellers there. Second thing to talk about, Kristian launches his project Pursuit. He did this with the Red Bull Racing and Art on Internet teams. The art in the description, it says, channeling the energy of raw velocity, light streaks tear across desolate landscapes, kindling a dance of colorful dust. And here is the art. I personally love this art. It's Kristian's kind of signature style combined with this racetrack theme and nature theme. Just really, really cool. He said, molded by the iconic design language of race circuits, Pursuit embodies the rhythm and rush of racetrack intricacies. Night stillness is punctuated by streaks of light. Very, very cool stuff. The mint started at 1.2 ETH. That was where the first person minted. It ended at 0.33 ETH. Overall raised about 77 ETH, and the current floor is up nicely. It's up to 0.55 ETH, and it's done about 7 ETH of volume. So nice result there. As you know, the Harvest is one of the more popular art blocks projects out there. So very cool to see him coming back with another great piece. They also did this open edition Echo of Intensity piece where you can just buy this one for 0.069 ETH, and there have been 17 sales of that so far. Here's one of the pieces in all its glory with the rainbow, and I just think it's such cool work. I'm kind of a Kristian fanboy. He's been on the podcast before as well, so go check that out. Really cool artist. Third thing to talk about, Machi Big Brother's AIP, his proposal. We've been talking about this for a while, but I wanted to give an update. The proposal, again, is to use 11 million ApeCoin to buy digital art, try to get them into museums. And the update, because the vote ends tonight, and the update is that 57% have voted for, 43% have voted against. So it feels like it is going to pass. Obviously, a lot of time is left. Machi Big Brother has 4 million ApeCoin, and he has not voted yet. So that's going to be clearly a big number 4. But overall, this is just 19 million have voted out of, I don't know if it's a billion supply or if it's how much of the billion supply came up, but there's a lot of that has not voted yet. So perhaps we'll see people coming against. Some of the bigger voters, Sandbox voted for, Mochaverse voted against with 1.8 million ape, Flooring Lab, Pimp Capital voted for. Kind of interesting stuff to see there. One other thing I wanted to mention is that Mochaverse created a separate AIP where they said they were going to use 350,000 ape to also buy NFTs, and to also which represent various cultures and other aspects within the community. Yatsio of Animoca was very clear that this is meant to be in conjunction with 304 and not against it. It was actually the community of Mochaverse that voted against 304, but I thought that was kind of interesting. This one very much looks on its way to pass 70% to 30%. I thought there were a couple of interesting quotes from Machi Big Brother with our friends over at Bored Ape Gazette. This one I thought was pretty telling. He just said, I just felt like ApeCoin is not moving in any particular direction and I wanted to. And I thought that was kind of interesting. One of my questions that I've had, I think obviously all the ape owners want this money, the $1 billion in ApeCoin, to go towards apes. Like, that is not hard to explain. But I also think that it's easier to get something like this to pass when you don't know exactly what ApeCoin is meant to be doing, what it's pursuing, what the goals are. And I don't know very much about ApeCoin, but just as an outsider, it's hard for me to know where ApeCoin is going. So I thought that makes it more vulnerable to something like this, where it says, hey, let's just go buy Bored Apes. And I think that's a bit of what happened here. He also went on to say that he just wants to kind of stop investing with his personal money and use this for a lot more personal collecting, buy every single trade. He said, does it look cool? Is it a fun ape? If it is, then hell yeah, let's get it. So who knows what's going to happen here, but interesting to see this movement. Fourth thing to talk about, artist Defaced, lost in the supermarket. And I just want to give a full section because it's not every day that we have an artist come in and get an auction on SuperRare to 30 ETH. Here is the artist saying the auction starts today. This was yesterday. And here's the piece, just tons of detail about the things he has imagined and thought, and his kind of head kind of doing a handstand there, stuck in books. The artist said, this is what came of 7 months of going to a bookshop every week and filling my head with images. I treated the artwork as a journal, documenting where I'd been and what I'd seen, what scared me and what I was hung up on. Growing up, I'd sit in my room for hours constructing worlds from Legos. I like to see my work as a continuation of that activity. Very cool stuff. And it was off to the races. Sam Spratt put in a bid for 21 ETH. DK Motion put in a bid for 23 ETH. We're already up to 30.69 ETH, and there's 2 more days to go. And this artist just has a lot of cool work of this shape and style. Some of the stuff on the right looks a little bit like a PFP, and he does have a project where a lot of characters are for sale, and the floor there is 1.4 ETH. So if you like this artist, there are a lot of ways to get access to his artwork. Lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales in the one-of-one space. This piece called Doomscroller by Nice Day Jules, bought by Evie Builds, sold for 1 ETH. And it is a video that kind of just goes on repeat of someone doomscrolling. The artist basically looked around and saw on Twitter, kind of tried to turn this concept of doomscrolling into a meme. Doomscroller, can't stop scrolling GM. Really, I think we're all familiar with the idea of doomscrolling. So cool to see this sale and cool to see the artist Jules kind of take ownership of the meme. Nice to see that. Another sale, this piece called Glitching Non-Euclidian Brain Frame by David Henry Nobody Jr. Buyer Pindervan Armin, sold for 2 ETH. And again, it's a video, so I took a couple screenshots of it with the video kind of going in with this person with a box around their head. The description is feeling boxed in. You thought the lift you were in was making your handshake. This one feels exceptionally cartoonish. I glitch, therefore I am. In a nod to Francis Bacon's siloed figures in existential box frames, the vibrating box. This describes the nobody mind plugged into the matrix of our collective reality simulation made by hand in Brooklyn in September 2023. Cool sale there. This artist actually had a second sale that I just saw before I recorded, so I didn't record it, but also for 2 ETH. And then lastly, I just saw this piece called Mundi Intacta by Kazonomics, sold for 4.621 ETH. Cool sale for him. I just wanted to throw it in there because this was the highest price of the day. And I saw it kind of as I was wrapping up for the show, but congrats to the artist on that sale as well. That is all from me today. As I said, I'm not going to be here tomorrow because I'm going to be in Marfa. I'm going to try to get a show in on Friday. I'm just going to have to do it kind of without the editors, just kind of do it ad hoc, but we're going to try to get something in for you then. I hope you enjoyed the show though. I hope you have a great couple days and we'll be back soon. Give us a like, tell us what you think in the comments and subscribe to the channel. And we will talk to you in a couple days.